find our strengths and things that we can grow on and learn from one another. So as you'll find, our personalities today are all a little different, but that's okay, because your personalities are different. And even in these green schools that we studied originally in the Reading Now Network, the schools that were outperforming others in their same socioeconomic status, we visited 5 schools. Do you think those principals were all the same? No, no way, not even close. I remember the first 2 we visited, both of them had been reading specialists, had reading masters, and I'm thinking to myself, even though Kyle says don't suspend judgments, I'm thinking, yeah, whatever, they're both reading specialists, that's why they're going up. The next guy we visited, he was a high school German teacher, and he was running an elementary, and it was outperforming everything. I thought, well, okay, we can't say that it's just that. So studying those schools was very interesting. So I know in working with many of you, I worked with many of you for years, you're not the same. We have Ann Hyde here, we have Teresa over here, we have Andy Young and Nellie, and they work together, but they all bring different strengths to the schools that they're working with and those educators. And one way's not right. You're there to support those principals. You're there to walk alongside them. We're not there to say, oh, this is not how it's going. No, if you've been in any of the coaching sessions, cognitive coaching, and many of you have, some of you are trainers, you want to walk alongside them. You're not there to tell them what to do. You're coaching to find out how you can improve what's happening. So that's what we're here to do today. So throughout the day today, we want you to partner up with some people. So what I'm going to ask you to do right now is find, maybe on a back of some piece of paper, I want you to quick draw that clock. Because you've been through this drill before. You're going to have a different person at 12, a different person at 3, a different person at 6, and a different person at 9. So what I'm going to have you do before you put anybody's name down, because otherwise nobody's going to move from their table, right? We're all going to go with our table, so we should have the circle now. 12, 3, 6, 9. Try to get that. I'm going to have you stand up, walk in an opposite direction. Take your paper and your pen, and walk in an opposite direction than somebody at your table. It doesn't mean you can't be with them, but try to get somebody at a different table first. So fill those 4 spots in, and then have a seat when you're finished. Follow the clock here. All right. We'll find your partner, like Derek, but we're going to get your partner. I'm going to need the 3, right?
I like it. They say go to singles bar. Singles bar. Go to singles bar.
What do you need? 3?
3, right here. Cindy needs a 3.
3 right here. Here's 2.
9. 3, 6, and a 9.
What do you need? A 3?
Okay, we can do triads. So who will take Cindy on as a 3?
Okay, go take that. Put yours with him for 3. Jeremy.
12. That's what I got here.
And then she's a 6. You're going to join her page on here. Probably one of your 6s. Then he needs one. A 9.
All right.
Do you still need a 9? All right, Teresa. Right here, Teresa. Yeah, but he needs a 3rd. So you're going to be 3, so we're going to save that. And that's how it might be working in these schools. Hey, we're all set, Bob. Nope, we're not all set. All right, and then, but you know what I like about that? You notice how flexible Teresa is? Yeah, she's, okay, we're going to go with it. And that's what we're going to go with. I also want to point something out before we go to our next strategy. Hillary's back there, and I saw a letter that you wrote to a principal that you've done rounds with. And she wrote a really nice letter, and I know we'll talk later about communication, but it's critical, this communication. I read that and I thought, that was kind, that was inviting. She put words in there, like I'm gonna walk alongside you if this, works out, and blah, blah, blah. I wish I had the letter right now to read, but it would, and maybe we can pull that up. But I feel like resources like that, like we're using with, I know Nellie, you've been fabulous with some of the communication you've had too with Literacy Coaching Network and your whole group and Ann and everybody. Let's share that communication. Because it wasn't a long letter, was it, Hillary? It was a short little email, but it was impactful. And I know as a building principal, that would have been comforting to get that to me, knowing that she's going to come in, walk alongside, and offer support. It was non-threatening and it was inviting. And I'm like, this is what we want. We need to share these. Because why should one person write a letter and 20 other ones try to do it too? And I know some of you have already made contact with your principals and done some things. So we want to share some of those ideas. That's what we're talking about, collaboration. They're making a short little video about the project out in the hall, so some people are getting pulled. And the guy videotaping said, what do you mean with collaborating? How did you guys even start collaborating? And I tell you what, years ago with this project, Doug will go back to this. It was even before I think you were involved. It was Kyle and myself, and we were kind of all Lori getting together. We didn't know each other. Will you work on this Reading Now Network project? Sure, we'll work on it. And I tell you what, the ISDs, we kind of operated in isolation, doing our own thing, doing our own PD. And after we have this collaborative effort amongst us, we rely on each other for support, for all sorts of stuff we call each other. And we do PD together, we do projects together. Just working together and having that relationship and sharing leads to success of so many things for all these students. And it's not just our students. All of our students are in the state of Michigan. We want this work to expand even throughout the country would be great, but we want all students to benefit from this. So we want you to share, and we want to offer collaborative ways that you can do that. I'd like you to take an index card, if you can find one out of there. If you can't, just use a small piece of paper, but there should be an index card in there. We want you to think back of your time with Carolyn. And I know so many of you have been through so many trainings, because I remember when we raised the hands, we had, how many have been through cognitive coaching? So many of you. How many have been through adaptive school? So many of you. And like I said, some of you are trainers. So think back to the day we had with McKeanders, or any working time you've had with any of your trainers from adaptive schools or the Thinking Collaborative. Think about some of the things she talked about, some of the strategies she had. What were some of the things she liked? It might be the index card that you like that she used. What did some of the things she talked about you thought, yeah, I can use that with the school. I could use that training other facilitators. So I want you to think of something you like from either the Adaptive Schools Day, Adaptive Schools Training, or Cognitive Coaching. And I want you to write a couple of those ideas down. Some things you liked, or some things you think you could use in a school. You could just do one or two, is good. You might want to star the one you like the best. I laugh because I've known, I'll pick on Ann and Nellie forever because they worked at Ken ISD with me forever. And they've, of course, gone through all the training. So Ann is an adaptive schools trainer. So she can just jump in at any point there, right? She has a whole list of them.
Yeah, and then
What we're going to do at this point, I want you to think of your favorite strategy. And in a moment, you're going to get up and share that idea with somebody not at your table. And then they're going to jot that down in the back of their cards. Don't exchange cards. Keep your own cards. Okay? And then you'll change with another one when I clap my hands. I'll say change, and then you'll get another idea to write on the back. I did this with a group of principals up in Newaygo County, and I laughed because they were changing the cards. I thought, that's a good idea. Let's just let them change the cards. So by the end of it, there was a little bit of confusion because everybody wanted to do data walls like one of the principals had done. Well, guess what? The principal who was talking about it wasn't even her idea. Finally, at the end of 35 minutes, she said, "You guys, I'm not the data wall person. I can't help you, but she is." And we all just started laughing because they had all the cards mixed up. But hey, they shared ideas, so that was really good. But then finally she said, "I can't talk about the data walls anymore because I don't even know what you did with them." So she was a little panicked. So it was a lot of fun. So keep your card. I want you to keep your card this time. All right, so what I'm going to ask you to do is, you have one idea you're going to share with somebody else. And then just jot down their idea on the back of your card. And then when I clap my hands and say switch, you'll get another idea. So you should end up with 2 new ideas on the back of your card. If they're the same, it doesn't matter. That means it's a good idea, right? All right, stand up. Someone else at a different table, please.
Hey, right here, turn around. Yeah, we're so proud of the thing that I always come back to is that our your intention drives your attention, which drives your actions or behavior. Okay. So, why they're behaving is where their attention is going to their behavior because the intention is
You need a partner? You have her? Yeah, there's good time.
Alright, write that idea down and switch. Switch, switch, switch. Switch up. Switch up. Find a new partner. Switch up.
And give them sometimes it's not just my experience. It's not a bad practice, you know, it's
Alright, if you could have a seat, that would be great.
All right, thanks for sharing, everyone. That is awesome, and hopefully you came up with an idea that reaffirmed what you were doing or something that you like. Could somebody share? I'm going to ask whether you want to share or not over here at Teresa's table, so think fast. At this table right here, an idea of something that you remembered or something that someone enjoyed. Can you just go ahead and
The visual paragraph, moving around after you make a point.
All right.
I love that.
Perfect. Visual here, yes. Did we have a few others? All right, this table here, can we share an idea?
One that I heard is after you've been through a training, to be reflective, think about what will I stop doing as a result of this. Maybe it's a good practice or maybe this isn't.
Awesome, that's good. Good, that's a new way to look at it, isn't it?
Can you repeat what she said?
Just what will you stop doing as a result of what you've learned?
So kind of that constructive criticism too, but to expand on that, absolutely. Sometimes we keep thinking, what went well, what went well, let's build. Whoa, we have to step back a little. This table over here, in the back. Any ideas you want to share?
Somebody I walked around, and met up with, said, attention, drive, attention,
Did you hear that? I didn't hear that. What did she say?
Louder,
Please.
Okay.
Thanks.
I did not say this, but somebody else did. Intention drives attention, which drives action.
Attention.
Intentional, absolutely. Just thinking about what we're presenting, being reflective. I know Derek talks about being ADD and move. You know, we are both building principals, which many of you, and it is like run around, let's do this. But after you go through a lot of the training and you slow down and you process, you're more intentional with what you're doing. There's times when, you know, there's a kid under your desk and he's full of clay, and there's another one that you're, you know, swearing, and one might be running the building and you have to make reactive decisions. That's the reality of life. You're gonna go into some schools and maybe that's happening. We've all have been there. But how can we grow from this? How can we build on this? How can we support them so that they understand, you know, and that they feel you understand? Because if we just go in there with, here's the essentials, here's what we're doing. No, you have to build those relationships, which is what Derek talked about in the beginning. You have to have those relationships. Because even if you're not living that moment with them, with those students and that frustration, if they know you're there for support, it's important. I mean, I worked at the ISD and I would have principals and superintendents call me for support. And I wasn't in their building every day, but I tell you what, I'd do anything I could to help them. If I had to go out there and help them immediately in their school, I would. Or if I had to call MDE, I would. They want you as a resource. Are you going to have those red balloons along the way in life? Oh, yeah, I'm sure you will. Can I tell you, and can the team tell you that it's going to be perfect wherever we go anytime? It's not that way in life, right? So how do you maneuver through and support and offer positive outcomes and circumstances? And that's what we want to do. And again, I go back to collaborating, because we're your coordinators and we know we don't have all the answers to everything. We'll support you any way we can, but you know what? I might not have the answer, but Dan might up here, he might have a really good answer. Sarah up here might have a great answer. Doreen back there might be able to help somebody. So that's what we want to do, is pull. You know, we have people that are current principals in here. You know, we can pull from them. We have all sorts of, we have reading specialists, we have instructional coaches, we have so many people in here with lots of talent. We want to work with one another to make this the best outcome and best project that we can. So now I'm going to turn it over to Lori, who is another one of our members. Lori, now you'll see as we go through and we talk about personalities, we're all a little different. Derek and I are a little more energetic, and I want to say ADD. No, I was going to say ADD, but I don't like it when people say that to me, so I'm going to say energetic, right? We are not ADD, Derek.
So not true. Look at
No,
Lori. She's got
Lori is a bubble of energy up here, but she's a little more focused than Derek and I. So we like that. We like that. You need a mic. Oh, you have a mic.
It's all under control.
It's karaoke time.
All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take the norms discussion a little bit deeper. And you know that the work that you did with Derek this morning really set the stage for this. All of you who have had adaptive schools kinds of training, the 7 norms of collaboration should be like your best friends that you have in your pockets. We have them in like little stand-up things on your tables. We also have posters in 3 different places, the definitions and then the scale on that door. So here's my airline person. They're on that door, they're back there, and they're over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the discussion a little deeper here. And the reason for this really is summed up in this slide. So if you could take about 15 seconds to read these bullet points. Okay, so in the handouts, you should also have these two documents. And in your, at your tables, we have a reminder of the paraphrasing, but you also have, can I borrow this? Oh, yeah. I'm just stealing people's stuff. I'm harvesting people's stuff up here. So in this resource that you have in the back, there's like a pull-out card that is a nice resource for paraphrasing if you need that reminder. So what we're going to do is we are going to, the first test of the day is going to be in a minute to find your 12 o'clock partner. Okay, and then we are going to use paraphrasing to unpack the norms. So wherever you put your little notes for who your clock partners are, pull that out. Hopefully you can find that person again. And what you're going to do is you want to take your handouts, something to write with, and then you're going to find your clock partner and find a place to perch. You'll be able to come back to your spot, okay, after our activity. So first thing, find your clock partner with your norms and something to write with. Go. Okay.
We're close, so that's nice. Right here. Okay. I tried to ask somebody whether
Three.
I have my map of
2,
we're 12.
1. All right, find a place to sit. Quick. It's like musical chairs. With your clock partner, decide who's partner A, who's partner B.
My initials are ABCs.
Okay, ready? So you should have your definitions page where you can see it. Partner A, put your hand up, please. Okay, so partner A is going to read the first norm definition. All right? Partner B is going to paraphrase what you heard. All right? So if you need reminders on what paraphrasing is, that's that cheat sheet that we referenced, right? And there are some starter stems, like sentence stems in there as well. Okay, this is the dreaded, so what I hear you saying is, so I'm going to challenge you to not use that one. Okay? All right, so does everybody understand what we're going to do? Partner A, what are you going to do?
Read.
You're going to read the first one. Right? The definition for the first one, which is what?
Pausing.
Pausing. Partner B, what are you going to do?
Paraphrase.
Paraphrase. All right. You're going to then switch every other one. And I'm not going to give you tons of time. There are 7 norms. It's going to take you about a minute to read, about a minute to paraphrase. So in like 14 minutes, you should be done with this. Okay? And then I would like you to choose one of those that you want to pay particular attention to for yourself today. Which one of those do you want to pay attention to? So be thinking about that while you're doing the definitions and the paraphrase. Okay? Ready, go. One of those 7 and paraphrase the 7 back, right? That works? Okay. And I asked you to be thinking about, for your own self, what do you want to pay attention to today? Right? Which one of those do you want to pay attention to? So now what I would like you to do is to, when I'm done with the instructions, you're going to look in the box at your table, a table near you, and pull out one sticky note. You don't need to write on it. Okay, it's just gonna be a blank sticky note. And I'm gonna ask you to find one of the charts that looks like a scale. So there's a scale chart right here that Derek's pointing to, and there's a scale chart behind Cheryl Marie back there. There's a scale chart back here on this emergency door, okay? So what I'd like you to do is, let's say I am the one who is going up here with mine that I'm gonna pay attention to, which is pausing today, and I'm gonna put myself somewhere on the scale where I think I am from low to high currently. Like, how good am I at this? And this is not rocket science, it's just like, how do you feel about this? So I'm gonna put myself here. No name, just put my sticky note up here. And then today, I'm going to particularly pay attention to, am I pausing? Am I doing what we just talked about when I read that definition? Okay? So you can just choose whichever poster you want to put yours on. Do it like within the next minute. Grab a Post-it and post it. So here's what I would love for you to do, is look at those 3 charts. And talk with an elbow partner about what you are noticing about the 3 charts. 30 seconds. Thank you. So do I have 3 volunteers to tell me what you noticed or what your partner noticed that you think the group would like to hear? 3 volunteers. There's 1. There's 2. 1 more. 3, thank you. Number 1, what would you notice?
We noticed that there's a lot of focus and attention around posing questions.
Great, thank you.
Same.
Posing questions.
A lot of attention on pausing, right at the very top of the chart.
Pausing and posing questions. So here's one of the things that I personally struggle with norms. I think these norms are amazing, and I think that, you know, it's great that even if we're going to pick certain working agreements, kinds of things to add to these about, you know, start on time, end on time, share air time, those kinds of things, that we know that these come from the research of what high-performing collaborative teams do, right? And here in this room is a group of amazing educators who have a lot of training. And you still put that you need to pay attention to pausing and asking questions. And look where you all are on the scale. Like, really? In the middle? So what this brings to me is that the more you know, the more you think you don't know, right? Like you're more self-aware perhaps, and I think it's amazing, and it kind of points to the fact that you're all learners, that you're trying to improve your craft, because look where you put yourselves. I'm just going to give one little story because I am not the queen of stories like Dorothy is. But when years ago I got the opportunity to spend 3 days with Bob Garmston. And ever since then I just have to say I confess to being a Bob Garmston groupie. Okay, so
Anybody would.
yeah. So he provided 3 days of facilitating and presenting training to some of us in Ottawa, ISD, and Muskegon ISD. And at the very beginning of the training, he said, so what do you want to learn by the end of the time together? What do you want to learn? What's your, like, I need this before I walk out the door. And everybody put, like, how to work with people who don't engage, that read the paper, that have the side conversations, right? It was like, okay. And so we went through day 1 and didn't do that. And we went through day 2 and didn't do that. And so like the last 45 minutes of day 3, he gets to this. And so what he did was, he said, so, all right, you guys all wanted to know this. What is it that what are the behaviors that drive you crazy? All right? So he starts writing, and he fills this page, and he fills this page, and he fills that page, and we've got our exhaustive list of all the things that people who we work with do that make us nuts. And he says, so, what would cause you to do that? To act that way? Right? And it was just this great sort of flip, like empathy for the people in your group. And what did that point to? The presumed positive intention. So like somebody sitting here like this, well maybe they're cold, maybe they're not comfortable sitting any other way, maybe they're checking their phone 1,000,000 times because somebody's in the hospital. Maybe they're back reading the paper because none of this page has anything to do with their job. Right? And so for me, that was just like such a shift of, oh, these people are driving me crazy, to, all right, what's going on with them, or how can I improve this experience for them? And so I think the more we have our own personal experiences with these, the better it helps us understand the others with us. But one of the reasons I asked you to pay attention to what you want to focus on is one of the challenges we have is, what do we do when people don't follow these? Right? So that's the 1-minute conversation I want you to have with an elbow partner. What have you done when you've been working with groups and there are norms violations? All right? What ideas do you have? Okay? 1 minute.
So I changed the proximity. Right. So yeah, just basically, you know, give you more information. I used to ask my guy, you know, like, here's the situation. I use that strategy. So this is your behavior, and this was the impact. And impact on me is trying to present it. But maybe I don't have all that information. So can you tell me how we can do more about that? Using the FBI. So sometimes I feel like I
Thank you. I would like you to look at your table and see who has the lightest clothing on. That person is going to give one idea for what do we do when we have...
No taking your clothes off.
Busted. You know, I'll just say that sometimes we have to have additional norms for our working arrangements. So whoever has the lightest clothing on is going to share one idea from their table about what to do when there are norms violations. So you've got another 30 seconds at your table, people with the light colored clothing, to find your one idea.
What do we do?
30 seconds.
Now we say, I will show Right.
I think you did have
You always have your norms part of your public agenda.
I am not. Like this. This is the list being organized.
It's part of it's always it's visual and it's there and it'll know.
Okay, ready? So, we're going to do this super fast. We're just going to whip around from one table to the next table. Whoever is the lightest clothing is going to stand up, share their idea really loudly so that I don't have to repeat it. And then the next person, so we're going to go this way. Then, so these two tables, then we'll be to the back. Come this way, come to the front, and go this way. Ready, go.
Okay, so proactive wise, we said making sure that our norms are part of our public agenda and that they're visible at all times so that you can refer back to or that others can help each other accountable.
Thank you.
A predetermined, no, I'm lighter than you. A predetermined visual or auditory cue that the whole group has decided we're going to use.
Nice. In the back.
Making sure that you are building your teams every day, every meeting around the norms, and then if you see violations of the norms, having an uncomfortable conversation if you have to.
Great. This table.
We want to make sure that we get group feedback and that we are cognizant of what norm we're working on that particular time if there's an issue with that norm.
Thank you. This table.
We talked a lot about evaluating our facilitation so that if you see a lot of sidebars, people need more time to process.
Thank you.
Referring to the norm chart when the norm is violated, but if the person is too egregious, taking them aside after the meeting and presuming positive intention, saying, what might have caused you to have difficulty being a part of what was going on?
Thank you.
We talked about if people are working in groups, just moving closer to that group and engaging in a conversation on the task. You might discover the task is not respectful for that person, doesn't relate to what they're doing.
Great.
We talked about having a role established as somebody to monitor the norms and expecting nonverbal review if the norm is violated. So we'll have a reminder.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Give yourselves a hand.
One thing that I may have not heard was the modeling of a leader to do this. I was amazed at watching Carolyn McCanders, and she paraphrased everything. She paused, she paraphrased. She must paraphrase to her radio in her car. I don't know. Serious. I mean, so one of the things we have to do is look at ourselves and how are we using those in our own work as we're doing it.
That's great.
And just as a point of clarification, there is a difference between a working agreement and the norms.
That was my question.
Working agreements are what the committee has decided needs to help them get the work done, like be on time, silence your cell phones. But the norms of collaboration are the research-based practices to get the work done, to get of how to act while you're working in the group. So
thank you
there's
for
a little
that.
delineation that needs to be made.
Thank you for that.
And sometimes that sidebar conversation may be taking place for somebody's further clarification of what you're working on. So it might not be a negative thing, and is there a visual cue, like a hand on the table we're talking about? I'm letting you know we are listening, we're working on what we're doing.
Yeah. That's great. Good. We're in the room with masters. Thank you. Diane, it's all yours.